The appointment card said 3 hours, minimum. I read that twice in the parking lot, sitting in my car with the engine still running, giving myself one last chance to leave. 3 hours was a long time to hold still. 3 hours was a long time to be touched by a stranger. 3 hours was a long time to spend doing something I had talked myself into and out of approximately 40 times over the past 2 years. I turned off the engine. My name is Elise. I am 38 years old. My mother died 26 months ago and left behind, among other things, a small stack of birthday cards she had written by hand over the years in the particular looping cursive she never lost despite everything going digital. I had been carrying the most recent one in my wallet since the funeral. I had been carrying the idea of doing something with it even longer. The shop was called Vessel. It was on a quiet street, not the kind of place with flash sheets in the window and a buzzing walk-in energy. One artist, appointment only. A small waiting area with 2 chairs and a shelf of plants that someone was clearly taking very good care of. The artist's name was Theo. He came out from the back room wiping his hands on a cloth, and my first impression was that he was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, and that he moved with a deliberate quietness that matched the shop. Dark hair, careful eyes, a sleeve of tattoos on his left arm that I found myself wanting to read like a story. "Elise," he said. "That's me." He looked at me for a moment with an assessment that wasn't unkind. "First tattoo? Is it obvious?" "You're sitting like you're waiting for a needle," he said. "Which fair. Come on back." The back room was smaller and warmer than I expected, with good light and a chair that reclined like something, between a dentist's chair and a therapist's couch, which felt appropriate. He had me sit while he reviewed the design, my mother's handwriting, photographed and traced and scaled to size. A phrase she had written at the bottom of my 35th birthday card, "You have always been enough." Theo looked at it for a long time. "This is her writing?" he said. "Yes." "How long ago?" 26 months, I paused. "The card is from 3 years ago. She wrote it before she knew she was sick." I didn't know either. I looked at my hands. "I like that she wrote it not knowing. It feels more true that way." He nodded slowly, the way people did when they were actually absorbing something rather than waiting to respond. "Where are you putting it?" "Left side, over my heart." I touched the place through my shirt. "I know that's—" "It's right," he said, simply, like there was no other answer. He had me change into a paper gown open at the front and sit back in the chair, and when he approached to prep the area, his hands were gloved and efficient. But there was nothing perfunctory about the care. Every motion was considered, deliberate, like someone who understood that the skin he was working on was not just a surface. "I'm going to place my hand flat here first," he said, touching my left side just below my collarbone, "so you can feel the pressure before the needle. Some people do better with that." "Okay," I said. His palm pressed against my ribs, warm through the glove, and I felt my breathing change. "Breathe," he said. "I can feel when you're holding it." I breathed. "Good," he said. "Tell me if you need to stop." The first hour, I talked. I don't know why. I was not generally a person who talked to strangers. I was a technical writer who worked from home and ordered groceries online, and had built a very functional life around not having to make small talk. But something about lying back with his hands on my skin and the low hum of the machine made the usual filters drop, and things came out that I hadn't said to most of the people I knew. I told him about my mother's hands, how she was always doing something with them, cooking or gardening or folding laundry in this particular way she had, and how the last months had been hard partly because her hands had finally stilled. Theo listened without filling the gaps. He asked questions that were specific and quiet. What did she garden? What was her name? Did she know you were going to do this? And each one felt like he was building something careful and real out of what I was giving him. "She would have thought it was too much," I said. She was practical. She would have said, "Just frame the card." What would you have said back? I thought about it. I would have said I want it somewhere I can't lose it. His hand pressed flat against my ribs for a moment, not adjusting, not working, just still. Then he continued. The second hour was quieter. The pain had settled into something I could work with. Not comfortable, but honest. A sensation that demanded presence. I understood, lying there, why people did this. Not just for the image, but for the hour of being required to stay in your body, in this moment, with no ability to be somewhere else in your head. Theo had a stillness when he worked that I found myself leaning into. His left hand rested constantly against my side, steadying, anchoring, a constant point of contact that I had stopped registering as clinical somewhere in the middle of the first hour and started registering as simply grounding. "You're doing well," he said at one point. "I keep waiting for it to be unbearable." "It usually isn't," he said. "Most people find the anticipation is worse than the thing." "That's true of a lot of things." He glanced up briefly. "Yeah," he said, "it is." I looked at the ceiling. "Do you ever get used to it, holding people's stories?" A pause. The needle continued its careful work. "I don't try to get used to it," he said. "I tried that for a while. You go a little numb. The work gets technically better maybe and emotionally worse." He shifted position slightly, his free hand resettling on my ribs. "I'd rather feel it and carry it a little than not feel it at all." I turned my head to look at him. He was looking at the work, his focus complete, but there was something in the set of his jaw that told me he meant it personally. "That sounds like it costs something," I said. "It does," he said. "Worth it, though." Somewhere in the third hour, I stopped talking entirely. The phrase was taking shape. I could feel him working through the letters, the particular careful attention he gave each one. And I knew without looking that he was treating my mother's handwriting like the artifact it was, not reproducing it mechanically, honoring it. I felt the tears before I decided to cry. They didn't come dramatically, no sob, no catching breath. Just a slow welling that spilled sideways across my temple and into my hair, quiet and unstoppable. The way grief came when it finally found a door you'd left open by accident. Theo stopped, not abruptly. He finished the stroke he was on, and then simply lifted the needle and set it aside. His gloved hand, which had been resting against my ribs, pressed slightly firmer. Not uncomfortable, deliberate. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm fine, You don't have to be fine," he said. I looked at him. He was looking back with an expression that was direct and entirely without pity. Not sympathy. That kept its distance, but something closer. Something that sat beside rather than observed from across the room. "I know," I said. I didn't expect it to." "It comes out differently when it's in the body," he said quietly. "That's the thing about this kind of work. You can't keep it just in your head." He reached for a tissue with his free hand and offered it without comment. His other hand still pressed warm against my ribs. "Take your time." I took my time. He didn't move his hand, didn't check his phone or adjust his equipment, or do any of the things that would have told me he was waiting for me to finish. He just stayed, his palm against my side, present in the complete way that was becoming the thing I noticed most about him. When I was ready, I said, "Okay, he said, and picked up where he left off. When it was finished, he pressed the bandage over the site with both palms. Slowly, his eyes on the work, and I had the strange impression of watching someone seal something sacred. "It's good," he said. "Not a sales pitch, a fact. Can I see it?" "Not yet. 24 hours minimum before you remove the bandage." He looked at me. "You'll know when you're ready." I sat up slowly. The room felt different, quieter, larger somehow. The way spaces felt after something real had happened in them. Theo was cleaning up with the same deliberate quiet. He did everything. And I watched him for a moment, this person who had held my mother's handwriting and my grief, and 3 hours of my most unguarded self, and felt something that I didn't have an immediate word for. Gratitude was part of it, but gratitude didn't quite reach. I put my jacket on slowly. "Thank you," I said. "For being..." I stopped, tried again. "For being careful with it?" He looked up from what he was doing, and something in his expression shifted. Not surprise exactly, but a kind of recognition, like I'd said the thing that mattered. "It deserved to be," he said. We looked at each other across the small, warm room. Outside, the afternoon was doing something golden with the light. The shelf of plants caught it and held it. I thought about my mother's card in my wallet, which I would not need to carry anymore, because I was carrying what it said somewhere. I couldn't lose it. I started, stopped. "I've been thinking about a second piece. When this heals." Theo set down what he was holding. "I'd want to do it," he said, quietly, directly, in the way he said everything that he meant. I looked at him for one more moment. Then I picked up my bag and walked toward the front of the shop. And at the door, I turned back. He was still looking at where I'd been standing. "I'll call," I said. "I know," he said. And the way he said it, certain, unhurried, like someone who had learned the difference between waiting and anticipating, it made me think that maybe grief wasn't only a thing you carried, Maybe sometimes it was a door fin,